One of the most important things that we can give to the world is the act of listening. And through listening, we will be able to gain the ability to speak, to teach, and to help other people. Welcome to the third season of Sensei. From our previous seasons, we learned so much. We met different missionaries who inspired us to do more for our Catholic Church. And in today's episode, we have a skillful electronic and communications engineer. Join us as we listen to his stories and learn how to have excellent quality audio and recording and in live performances. Do not miss out as Mr. Marc Paraiso share his experiences and journey here in Sensei Season 3, their skills and talents.
I'm Marc Paraiso. I'm currently the Technical Services Manager for 808 International. We're basically a company that engages in the distribution and retail of highly professional audio, video, and lighting equipment. That's basically what I'm doing at the moment. When I was a small kid, I would play around with my father's tape recorder and I would record myself into it. That's how I actually got myself interested into the field. I was also into listening to shortwave broadcasts, and that actually paved the way largely for me to take up a Bachelor of Science in Electronics and Communications Engineering back in college. So that's basically how I started as a kid. That's how I get started.
Aside from being a technical person, especially in line with audio po, is there anything that you do before?
Oh, yes. I'm also a network guy, so I'm also into information technology. In fact, when I started out in the field, I was doing electronics and IT aspects at the same time. I worked for a mobile phone manufacturer who was then not so popular here in the Philippines, but they're one of the biggest mobile phone manufacturers of the day. And I used to support their mobile phones here in the Philippines. And I also got to be a systems administrator for another network provider here in the Philippines. So my experience is not just confined to one area. So I have other different allied areas working on, that I work on.
What are the basic things that you do for, especially with the networking field?
Basically, for networking, if we're talking of networks, it's all about maintaining availability of the network for the users, and at the same time providing security for the users connected to it so they don't become victims of internet crime. So we look out for suspicious activity, so we prevent that from happening in our networks. So that's what I do before. Actually, if you look at the industry today, there's a very thin line everywhere. Before the year 2000, where everybody was thinking of the Y2K bug, the buzzword was convergence. And what convergence was all about is about having different industries or disciplines coming together, because everything is going into the internet. Everything is getting to be connected. So before, people were thinking of information, emails, then it became mass media. Now we have social media networks. We now even have banking, e-commerce. All these things are coming all together. So whether it's entertainment, whether it's business, everything is highly interconnected nowadays. And in the following years or decades, we're going to see much more of it. Right now, audiovisual and lighting, that's basically part and parcel already of of the new thing today, which is we have remote concerts. Performers may be elsewhere around the world, and people might be elsewhere, so they highly interact with each other. So all these things require different kinds of technologies. So quite exciting.
You mentioned, sir, that you were providing things like audiovisual lights
Yeah.
for the concert and other events. Can you tell something more about it or your experiences?
I actually started out with a professional audio distribution company here in the Philippines. And from there, I actually moved towards communications part of producing this thing. So we have intercoms. That's basically what I supported later, in my first job in the industry. And what happened next was I was deployed. I was actually hired to work overseas in Dubai. And basically everything just snowballed out of it, because like I said earlier, there are many different industries that are now coming together because of information technology, of different electronics technologies that are coming together. So these are putting all these different industries all together, and that's what makes my industry not just restricted to what basically audiovisual and lighting is. So we are almost present everywhere. So whether you go to a church, you have an audio visual system there. When you go to a concert, when you go to a movie, in fact, when you even attend a meeting, there's an audiovisual element to it. So, yeah.
How long you've been doing those things?
I would say decades already. Perhaps my hair would say it. Yeah, it's safe to say decades already. I've been doing this for decades. I've actually worked on the 2 previous Wonderland festivals here in the Philippines. I would think those are the major ones that I've worked on. I've worked with several K-pop, figures. With the sheer numbers, I just can't remember them all. So if you're just deep into it, you just do your job, you just do what you have to do. Come in clean, come out clean, do your job, everybody happy, everybody goes home happy. That is what matters.
Do you want to watch more Limang Siglo and Sensei videos? Visit our social media accounts and don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe.
You witnessed a lot of things like events, concerts, and there's so much things that you were able to attend before. And now that you're engaging and evolving, especially in modern times, so, what are the things that you observe, especially for those people who are now into music?
Oh, okay. Because of the advances in manufacturing technology, there's also advances in computer-aided design. So all these things contributed to faster turnaround times for research and development of products. Products became much cheaper to manufacture, and eventually it became more accessible to the ordinary man off the street. So because of this, what used to be for well-endowed few, it's basically accessible now to the mass markets, really. The market forces actually allowed it to happen, and everyone nowadays can actually start his or her own studio. Of course, that depends on the type of material or media that you're trying to produce. So each situation would have a different requirement. People have different reasons for coming up with their own studio, or basically audiovisual equipment back home. For the creative mind, they actually invest in a few. It can be as simple as having a microphone, having a small mixer, with an interface. Those are basically the start of things. It can be a source of your creative outlet, so you can release all your pressures into it. People are starting to have podcasts. People are starting to make their vlogs. Of course, vlogs would require additional equipment for video and of course lighting as well. It's a good thing because you get to see more of the world now than what it is before, with a few content producers out there. So I think it's a good thing, not just for the market, but it's for the entire humanity. I mean, it opens your minds. Yeah.
How about you? Have you ever thought of establishing or building your own studio or something like production, post-production?
Okay. I once thought of it, but I ended up helping other people put up theirs. So that's what happened. I just don't have that much luxury of time to produce content. So I ended up helping other people who are more focused into building or making content using the tools that we can produce today.
Do you also have like volunteer work, or do you do volunteer work?
Oh yes, I do volunteer work as well. Yeah. I actually happen to be an amateur radio operator. For the millennials who are not aware, because this is largely a hobby of the past. It still is a hobby of today, but more people embraced it before, because communications was not as accessible as your mobile phones nowadays. But yes, as an amateur radio operator, you get to help people. Yeah. In professional audio, video, and lighting, I also get to engage in pro bono work, especially for charitable causes. Yeah.
Have you tried to volunteer po sa mga churches or nag-set up po ng mas malalaking audio system?
Yes, it's largely for consultation. It's something that I give out because more often than not, you get to see systems that are poorly designed, and the users eventually get frustrated. And when people don't get to hear properly what's being said, the devil is happy. So we don't want that. So we try to help churches build up their systems, of course depending on their needs and their budgets. That's what I also engage in. I always believed in being good. So sometimes they may not necessarily share the same beliefs as I am, but in general, people who go to churches wanted to be better people. So it's not too much to help in such causes.
What are the things that you usually do po when you are helping the church po?
Oh, first things first, of course, I get to ask what are the needs, because you don't want to spend for something that you don't really need, So I always ask for what the needs are, what the requirements are, and then we just try to fit in the budget based on what their actual needs are. Yeah.
Can you share something po, or can you give some examples, or what are the basic needs po na
Okay.
kailangan po sa church?
The basic needs for churches, basically, first things first is you need someone to get heard by the churchgoers. So you need a microphone. For microphones, there are different types of microphones. There are microphones that are designed for close-up miking, which means your microphone is pretty close to your mouth. And The other one is, basically general ambience miking, or it can be also group miking. So basically you're trying to capture audio from a certain group. So in terms, going into details, condenser microphones are good for capturing group vocals, and for close-up miking, and for people who are used to using microphones up very close, a dynamic mic would be good. That would be the start, of course, the microphones. Next, of course, you need a decent mixer, just like the ones you see here. So in the years of yesteryears, analog mixers were quite popular, just like this one. This one is analog. Of course, with the advances in technology, we have newer technologies like digital mixers. And as of today, digital mixers are actually very, very competitive in terms of price points as compared to analog ones. Those are the next in line. And of course, at the end, you have to reproduce what has been heard. So you'll need a power amplifier and speakers. As for speakers, there are many formats of speakers. It depends on the place. It can be a simple point source, it can be a line array. There are different technologies already out in the market today. So there's plenty to choose from, really.
Do you want to watch more Limang, Siglo, and Sensei videos? Visit our social media accounts and don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe.
Is there any other tips naman po to have a clear audience on content creators or other people like kasimbahan po?
Yeah. Get the proper gear for the job. That's first and foremost. It doesn't have to be the most expensive one. Just get something that's decent, because even something so cheap can sound like something so expensive in the hands of someone who has attention to detail. So with many things that you can use nowadays, there are things such as DSPs. You can even mimic the sound of, you can emulate sounds of another instrument. There are many tools that you can use nowadays. So it's just the attention to detail that the person tweaking the equipment, that's where it would matter most. Yeah. But of course, nothing really compares to getting the best tool for the job. But I'm not saying that it cannot be done with something, on a very limited budget.
As a person who works
In the field.
audio side,
Yeah.
what are the things that you were able to learn through those experiences?
Lessons. Number one, patience. You just have to be patient, because especially for people who have very limited understanding, where they have preconceived notions, it's sometimes hard to explain some concepts based on physics in order for them to accept, a new way of doing things. Second is flexibility. You just have to be flexible. It's like trying to compare a motorcycle with a sedan. So what difference does it make? If it takes you from point A to point B, it does the job, then you're done. It's okay. So of course, for obvious reasons, a motorcycle cannot do what a sedan would do, and vice versa. So flexibility is the thing. And lastly, you just have to keep learning, because technology is very evolving every time. So don't stop learning.
And what advices you can give for those people who would like to follow your footsteps, the things that you're doing?
Actually, the basic trait to be a professional in this industry, especially for professional audio. If you're into professional audio, you have to be keen at listening rather than talking. In the visual arts, visual field, or even lighting, it's the keen of, you have to be keen for details, so you have to use your eyes. So basically, attention to the finer details is one, and willingness to learn along the way. Yeah, because this is not something that you get to read from the books. Of course, a lot of it will come from the books, but in practice, it's something that you get to, to practice with your ears. It's a skill, it's not something that you get to memorize in your head. Yeah, so patience in learning.
Is there any other way to, like, if, for example, there are people na since nagtatayo po sila ng mga sarili po ng studio, kahit po sa mga bahay po nila. Is there any tips po for them to how to learn more of the technical side?
First things first, it's not too much to ask a professional. Okay. There are many professionals out there who are willing to share their knowledge. Manufacturers conduct seminars to make use of their products, old and new, much better. Of course, with lots of content creators nowadays, a lot of them are out in the social media, a lot of them are in video streaming platforms. So you just have to look for it. Knowledge is not something that knocks on your door, it's something that you look for. So you just have to look for it, and sometimes you must know how to sift through what is garbage and what is the truth. It's not just for me, it's not just being myself. My advice is generally, it's for everyone. Okay, whatever field that you're trying to pursue, do your best and find your sunshine. Just find your sunshine. Don't be in a rush. And once it comes, like they say, if it rains, it pours. You just have to be happy with what you're doing.
Thank you for joining us in our first episode of Sensei Season 3. We hope you will continue to be with us in this journey of learning our senseis, who give glory to the Catholic Church and its work. May we continue to appreciate the goodness of listening, for us to share the greatness of the Lord as we speak. See you again, and let's continue to explore, learn, and improve, because life is a continuous learning process. This is Sensei Season 3, Their Skills and Talents.